everyone, my name is Bilikis. You're welcome to the sewing part of our off the shoulder peplum top, the 720 degrees peplum. We are about to sew it all up, and it is just as easy as we cut it out. Yes. So now all my panels are ready. I've cut out the lining. So now this is for the back, the front, the peplum. This is for the front, then the back, then the strap, the sleeve, and then the other puffy sleeve. I've cut out all the lining for my panels. So looking at it, I use the lightest interfacing just to make it stable. One, because of the type of lining I'm using, popularly called a bar lining, is very light and it's just difficult for me to work with. So I improvise by adding the lightest interfacing to it to just make it stable and give it some support. And also to the main fabric, please, this is totally optional, even that of the lining. If you can work with it, fine. So it is totally optional. So having done that, then the front has been padded, as you can see that. So it has been padded just exactly the same way we did for the full circle dress. So it has been padded. So now I'm going to move the camera closer so that we can get started and get this over done with. Want to get started, the first thing we are going to do here is to attach the front panel and the back panel together. That is just the first thing. Now this is the main panel here. So what I'm going to do is to take the side panel, right side facing each other. Can you see that? Then I'm just going to sew it up from the bottom straight up. The same thing to this other one, sew it straight up. The same thing to the lining, right side facing each other, and I'm just going to sew it all down. Same here. The next thing, we'll now have to go to the back panel. So this is the back panel. Can you see that? So the right side now will be facing each other. Then I'm going to sew in ½ inch. The same thing to the lining, ½ inch. Same to the other side, ½ inch here, and then ½ inch here. So we'll go to the sewing machine to sew that all up. Right now we're going to start sewing it up. We left ½ inch for that, so we are taking in ½ inch. You can notch that area to make it easier for you. Can you see everything just matches up perfectly? Can you see that? So we are going to do the same thing to the next one. That's the second side. So we are going to sew it up the same way. So that's done. So now let's turn it for you to see. So can you see that? So what I'm just going to do is to notch these points, and then it will just come out so well. So now the next thing is to sew the lining the same way, and then the back panel. Now this is the back panel. So right side will be facing each other, and then we'll just take on ½ inch all down. So that's all. Right now the panels has been sewn up together, and you can see how lovely it came out already. So this is the front panel. So beautiful, I love it. So make sure you notch this under bust area to make it relax, and then you give some few notches here, then give it a good press. You can see the way it relaxes here, and the bust area is just so beautiful. Can you see that? Then this is the lining. Everything looks so perfect. Then the back, can you see that? So then you open up your seams, and also for the other panel. So the next thing now quickly is to join it by the sides. This is the front, this is the back. So what are we going to do? We'll make sure the right side are facing each other. So this is the armhole area, it matches the armhole area. Can you see? Then I'm going to sew in 1 inch. Remember, we left 1 inch for the side seam allowance, so I'm going to sew in 1 inch. Then this very one too, I'll place it this way and sew in 1 inch for the sides. Then the same thing will be done to the lining. Can you see that? Then I'm just going to sew in 1 inch on the sides. So after doing that, then we'll go over to the sleeves. Now this is the off shoulder sleeve, while this is the strap. So what I'll just do is to just use my overlocking machine to just finish this side. Then for this very sleeve, I'm just going to open up this way. It was 3.5, so we have ½ inch for seam allowance. I'm going to take in ½ inch here, then bring it inside out. So that's what I'm going to do next now. Now the side is going to be sewn as we have talked about it. So 1 inch on the side. So that's it. So now one side has been sewn, so we have to sew up this other side too the same way, 1 inch. Now all the side has been sewn. Then we are going to do the same thing to the lining. Then we'll go to the sleeve. Now this is the sleeve, the off shoulder sleeve. So we are going to start sewing it up now. So the first thing is to turn it to the wrong side because we are sewing in on the wrong side. Can you see that? So we'll be sewing in ½ inch on the side so as to turn it inside out. Right now the sides has been joined, so this is the lining. You can see the side. Then I open up the seam also for this. Then this is the main fabric. The sides has been joined. Can you see that? And then on the other side. So the next thing we are going to do, quickly over to the sleeve. So this is the strap. Then this is the off shoulder sleeve. So I want where the seam is to be on the lower part. So the first thing we are going to do now is to pin all this sleeve. So first, it depends on which side you want the off shoulder sleeve to be, either on this side or you want your strap to be here. So that depends on you. So now the first thing I will have to do is to pin this to the main fabric before we sew up all the necklines. So now this is what I have. I'm going to get my pins. So this now I'm going to place it this way. So what I will do now is to pin the sleeve, so this way. So make sure it is ½ inch away from this edge because that will be for the sewing of the neckline. So note that. So it's going to be ½ inch away. You can use your measuring tape to measure that. So I'm going to pin it down. So having done that, then I'll take this because it's going to be like this. So it's going to be something like this. Hope you can see that. Make sure it is ½ inch away from there. So you can see the sleeve, and I'm going to pin it down too. So this is the sleeve, you can see that. So having done that, then I come to this part too. This overlocked part will be towards the armhole. So that means it's going to be like this. Pin it down. So it's going to be like this. So that means just turn it this way and match it up. All this. So let me show you. Can you see that? So this strap is going to be this way, and then the off shoulder sleeve is going to be this way. Can you see that's beautiful already? So the next thing now is to turn the neckline and everything with the lining. So now right side facing each other. Then make sure all the sleeve are inward. Can you see that? So now I can now remove this pin to now adjust it well with the lining. So I can remove it now, adjust it well, take your time. So that is it. So I'm going to pin all the neckline too. It's very, very easy. There's nothing difficult in all this. Now come here. Push in the sleeve. Remember, we left the ½ inch to sew it up. So now I will not remove the pin here. Then I'll just take another pin to secure that. So can you see that? Then make sure you push this off shoulder sleeve inward, because we are going to finish the armhole area. Can you see that? It's inward. Then come here. Make sure the side seam matches. So that's why I told you to take your time. Make sure you do not sew the sleeve. Then the edge to the ½ inch we left again. Then we are going to sew it all down to the back and then stop at the 1 inch zipper allowance. So we are done with this side. Then we'll go over to the place where we have the strap. For this side, we will not finish up the armhole area. Why? Because we are still attaching a sleeve to this. So once you get here, exclude the armhole area, then move over to this side. Can you see? Then I'm just going to remove this pin, adjust it well with the lining. Then till the end, make sure you will stop at the 1 inch zipper allowance. That's very vital. So now this way, can you see how I've done that? So I'm just going to start sewing from this part straight down. For the strap, this is the strap. Exclude the armhole, don't sew that. Come over to this side, sew up the neckline. When you get to the armhole area, we pin the armhole because we are going to finish that. So just sew ½ inch, then finish up the armhole, then come straight to this point and stop at the zipper area. So that's that. We want to start sewing this now. So what we are going to do is this. Since this is the part of the strap that we won't be sewing up the armhole area, so what we are going to do is to start from this point now, and then sew it all down and continue this way. Then we'll come back to the back part of this point. These parts you really need to take all the time you need. There's no need to rush at this area, please. Then do not take more than ½ inch or 1/4 inch. don't need to be in a hurry at all. So now we are going to continue because we want to finish the armhole, but make sure your of the shoulder sleeve is inside. Please note that though we have pinned it and pushed it inside, but take your time to do that. So now we are on the armhole area, sewing it down. Can you see that? So that's the off shoulder sleeve. At the end now, the next thing is to turn to the neckline of the back. We then stop at the zipper area. Can you see that? So the next thing now is to continue from the other side. Remember, we started from this point, so now we are going to continue from the other side. Now we are going to exclude this armhole, then we'll just finish off the neckline for these parts. So then we'll stop at the zipper allowance. Right now, since we have sewn the neckline and holders, so we are going to top stitch, but first let me show you what it looks like on the right side. Can you see how beautiful that is? Can you see the off the shoulder sleeve? So even you can just leave it like this if you don't want any ruffles on it. It depends on what you want. Can you see the strap too? Can you see all looking beautiful? So what I'm going to do next now is to first I have to notch. What do I mean by notching? Can you see something like this? So it helps when you are top stitching as a guide, especially these curved areas. I'm going to notch them all through. Then top stitch. How do I top stitch? I'm going to open it up this way. Can you see? Then all the seam allowance now, can you see that? Tends towards the lining. Then you run a stitch like 1/8 of an inch on it, so it makes it stable so as not to have this your lining coming out of the fabric. So that is the essence of that. All your seam allowance towards the lining, then you sew 1/8 of an inch. The same thing all through the neckline. Can you see? Towards the lining, then top stitch. So that's what we are going to do now. Now the outfit has been top stitched and it looks so beautiful already. Can you see the sleeve? So on the inside, this is what we have. So it has been top stitched, so it makes the lining stick inside. Can you see? So in no way would it come outside. So that is just it. So we are going to leave this now and move to the lower part, that is the peplum. So beautiful. So now back to the peplum. Then you need your horsehair braid at this stage. So now this is for the back and this is for the front, both the lining and the main fabric. What I did is to use the lightest interfacing on it, can you see, and also on the lining, just for some stability and support. What I will do now is to cut open one side, but the back, that would be two sides. So now for the front, I'm just going to cut open one side, which I will do to the lining. Now this is what I'll have for the front. So this is just for the front, the other one will be for the back. So I'm just going to slip one side open for all these two. I've split open all the panels, like this is for the front, one side, but the back is different because it will have the sides and also the back zipper. So this is what I did. I cut through here, then I also cut through here. So now I did the same thing for the lining. So this is what it's going to be. So this will be the sides that will be attached to the side, and this will be for the zipper. So can you see that? So this is the side, and then this is the area for the zip. Can you see that? So it's then the front panel will be attached to it. So it's just easy. So that's for the back. So what are we going to do now? What we are going to do right now is to join the panels together before we sew up the lining to the main fabric. First, we are going to join all the panels together to have just one piece. So first, let me set the lining aside. Now this is for the front. So looking at this, this is the full circle for the front. So we'll have to join it to the sides. So first, so this is the zipper area. So that means I will have to join these parts up. Can you see? So I'm just going to join it by 1 inch. I think we left 1 inch for that. So that is for one side. And then I'm going to take this also right side facing each other. As I've said, I will now have to join this side too, since we left 1 inch on those sides. So I'm going to take 1 inch on this side and the other side. So I'm now going to have just one peplum with the zipper allowance opened. So at the end of the day, I should have 38 inches. Because my actual circumference is 36 plus 1 inch seam allowance for the zipper on both sides, that is 38. So first thing now, I'll take to my sewing machine to sew this up, and I'm going to do this same thing to the lining. Now the sides have been joined. Can you see that? Then you trim. So you trim up the excess. Can you see on one side, then the other side here. So now I have one long strip of peplum. Can you see? So that's quite much. So what we are going to do now is to now sew up the lining and the main fabric. So right side is going to be facing the right side of the lining to the right side of the main fabric. So this is what we are going to have. Then we are going to sew it up along with the horsehair braid. So you have quite a lot of volume now. So just start from the beginning. Then just sew it up. So remember we left 1 inch, or you can take half an inch. So we are just going to sew it along the curves all through, from one end to the other end, then we top stitch. You don't need to pull the horsehair braid, you just need to keep adjusting it along with the peplum. So this is how we keep sewing it until we get to the end. All the horsehair braid has been sewn to the peplum now. So what we are going to do now is to top stitch. What do I mean by that? All the seam allowance towards the lining. So that is what we want to do now. Yeah, so we want to make all these seam allowance towards the lining and then sew very close to the seam, like 1/8 of an inch. But to make it easy, we are going to turn it to the right side. That is a good trick to have a neat top stitching. Can you see the way we turn it to the right? But underneath, you make sure all the seam allowance is towards the lining. Then we are going to start sewing on it very close. So make sure you take your time to adjust it. Can you see that? Can you see a very neat top stitching? So that is it. We are going to keep sewing it up. Keep adjusting it underneath and on top of it. Right now, after top stitching, I have a whole peplum. Can you see that? So on the wrong side, this is what it looks like. You can see a very nice finishing. So it's a lot of volume. So you can see that. So the next thing now is to attach this peplum to the upper part. So first we are going to attach the main fabric to the main fabric before the lining to the lining, and then we are going to leave some space after fixing our zipper. So can you see this? So this is what I have now. So first I'm going to take this main fabric, because this part is going to be for the zipper. Then take the main fabric of the main bodice. Then we are going to start attaching it. So I'm just going to pin it down now, all through. It's all through. So you separate it. You can see the side of the peplum matches the side of the main bodice once your measurement is just right. Just the main fabric alone. So you can see what I have now. Can you see? Just the lining, the main fabric alone. So the first thing I'm going to do is to just sew this up. Let me do that first, then we'll come to the lining. The main fabric has been attached now. You can see that. So on the wrong side, this is what we'll have again. You can see that. So we still have the lining open. So the next thing now we are going to do is to join the lining to each other. So just take the lining now. So all the main fabric goes inside. So this is it. Open it up. Starting from the beginning. Then I'm just going to close up the lining. So now when I get to the end, almost getting to the end, I'm just going to leave about 7 inches opening. I could leave it around the side here. So this is the middle panel, the front panel. So this is part of the back, So after starting from the beginning sewing it, so I'm just going to leave about 7 inches opening here. That will be to bring out all the fabric after joining, after fixing the zipper. So I'm going to take to the sewing machine now to join everything and then leave like 7 inches opening. So let me do that. Right now I've sewn the lining. So remember I told you to leave some space, but you are just going to sew it up, because I just remember the armhole area is still open for the part we'll be adding the sleeve. So we can just bring it all out from there. So just sew it close just as you sew the main fabric. So you can see my lining now. So the next thing is to bring it all out, and then you can attach the zipper, or better still, we can just leave it like this and fix the zipper. But let me just bring it out for you to see everything. So now I've brought it all out. So this is where the zipper will be attached. You can see how beautiful it looks. Can you see all the flare? So beautiful and nice. So on the wrong side, this is what I have. Can you see that? So beautiful. Can you see? So perfect, and all the finishes, the seams are just wonderful. So this is where we are going to bring out all the outfit after fixing the zipper. So what I'll do now is to get my zipper, then we can just fix it before we attach the sleeve and the ruffles. The thing now is this, I'm using this matching zipper. So just make sure the right side of the zipper is facing the right side of the outfit. So you are going to start from this open hand part. Just make sure it matches here. Let me see that. So I'm going to start sewing from the 1 inch I left. So this is going to be the leftover that I'll cut out later. So remember, we left 1 inch for the zipper allowance. So I'm just going to sew 1 inch. So just place this zipper on exactly 1 inch. You can mark it if you are not really sure. So only on the main fabric. Only on the main fabric. So I'm just going to sew it all down. Can you see that? Then also to the other parts, I'm going to sew it too. Then we can just close it up. That's how I'm going to sew the zipper all down. So looking at it now, can you see what we have? So very close to the zipper teeth. So we are going to run it all down. Right now you can see the zipper. Till the end. Can you see? So the next thing now is to attach it again facing this point. So what I will do is to match this point to the zipper again, and then I'm going to sew it on 1 inch the same way I sewed this. Can you see? So the same way she sewed this, now she's going to attach it to this very one. Right now I want to start sewing from the bottom. You can see the open end zipper. So the right side of the zipper is facing the right side of the other side of the fabric. So we are going to sew on 1 inch all down. Right now the zipper has been attached to the main fabric, so I have the lining here. So what I'll do now is to open it up. So I kept it close for better understanding, so that you see how the zipper is fixed. So the next thing now is to sew up the lining. So in that case we'll be sewing it this way. So what we are going to do now is to bring out all the fabric from one side all outside. So we are going to turn it all to the wrong side. I've turned it all to the wrong side now. So what I will do now is this. Let me pick one side. As you can see now. So the excess zipper is going to be out this way. So just cover it up with the lining. Can you see that? So you can turn it to the right side, so it will be easy for you to sew it up. Now I can feel the zipper teeth is inward now, is in the outfit. So now I'm going to sew both the lining and the excess of the zipper and the main fabric together. So you are just going to sew on this very seam you have here, because the zipper teeth, I can feel it with my finger, it's inside. So I'm now going to just cover this up. This zipper is now inward, so just run few stitches over this, then you are going to sew very close or on the seam allowance till the end. So that's what I'm going to do now. And also to the other part, that is the same thing I'm going to do. Can you see that? I'm going to run a stitch, then sew it up. So can you see now? So the lining and the main fabric has been sewn together. So she's just going to sew it straight down. Now we've sewn all the main fabric to the lining, so it's time to turn it to the right side. I've cut up the excess zipper. Then at the bottom here, you need to cut this off. And you see that, make sure you don't cut through your seam here too. So can you see that? So now from the armhole opening, now I'm going to bring out everything gently. Take your time to do that, don't rush. Can you see that? Right now, I've turned it to the right side. So you can see the zipper. Everything is just so neat and nice. Also on the other side. So this is it on the wrong side now. Oh, sorry, on the right side. Then on the wrong side, this is what it looks like. You can see how beautiful that looks. So you need to give it a good press, because I've not even ironed it at all. Let me see that. So it needs a good press. So that's what that looks like. Let me just close up the zipper. So can you see everything? The waist area matches so well. So I just need to give it a good press, then we can move on to the sleeve and then the organza ruffles. The first thing we are going to do now is this. Now this is the circle sleeve. This is what we have. So the first thing I'm just going to do is to run a long stitch. That will be the longest stitch on your sewing machine, from the end here straight down till the other end. So that will be that will be the next thing. So I'm going to run a straight stitch so as to gather it up. So I haven't done that now. So you need to get your organza fabric. Then this is just by the actual length I have for the organza. So what I did is to cut out a wideness of 9. So this is 9 inches that I have here, because we are going to be sewing in half an inch on both sides. I'm going to explain how to sew that now. So on fold, I will have 4.5, because I actually want 4 inches after folding it. So here now I have 4.5. So once half inch is gone, I'll be left with 4.5. Then we'll just gather it up. So now the actual length of the organza, cutting 9 inches by the actual length. Let me check. So which is about 60. Can you see that? So that's 60. 9 inches by 60. So for this, we'll be making we'll be getting 2 here. So what I will do now is to cut it into 2. I need 2. I'll get 2 from this, because I actually need 3. I think 3 should be okay to embellish my sleeve. So this is what I'll have now. So what I'm going to do now is this: fold it up. So after folding it up this way, I'm just going to close this end, taking half an inch here, half an inch on this side. So just take it, close it up and stop somewhere around here. Close this part up too and stop around here, so as to bring it on the right side. I've gathered up the sleeve, so you can see what I have now. So what I did is to gather it up as the same measurement as this. If you can see that, so I gather it up to the same measurement. So the next thing we are going to do now is this. Make sure the right sides are facing each other. Then I'm going to take to the sewing machine to sew in half an inch or whatever seam allowance you left. So I'm going to sew it up. So first, let me just attach this, then go to the next step. Right now, it has been sewn. Can you see that? That's on the wrong side. So opening it on the right side, this is what you are going to have. So the next thing now, still on the wrong side, you just have to close it up. So whatever seam allowance you left, for me, I left 1 inch seam allowance, or better still, just measure whatever you have on your armhole area, and then you measure it up here. So whatever is left will be the seam allowance you are going to take. So I'm just going to take 1 inch now from here straight to the edge, then we'll bring it inside out. Right now I've sewn it, the seam allowance, then just trim it off a bit. So the next thing now is to turn it. So I'm just going to turn it inside out. So now this will be the sleeve opening. So I'm just going to give it a good press there. So now this is the sleeve. Can you see that? So it's puffy. So what I will just do is this. I'm just going to sew both of the sleeves down so that it will be easier for me to attach to this main dress. So can you see that? So I'm just going to take 1/4 inch to sew it all down this way. Can you see I've secured the armhole area? Can you see that? So the next thing now is to attach it to this sleeve and then finish it up with a bias strip. So what I'm just going to do is to turn this way. So you can just pin it down, because this is what we want to achieve. This hem line, the seam line, will have to match this point. Can you see? And then from here, I'll now have to sew it up, attaching it to the sleeve all through. Let me see that. So you can take your time to pin it all down. So that will be what I will do next now. Can you see that? So you attach it together along with the strap. Now I've sewn up the sleeve, and remember, always cut off excess stretch. So can you see now it has been attached to the strip this way. So now on the right side, this is what it looks like. So can you see the sleeve now? So beautiful and puffy. So I explained if you want some puff around the side, so I explained that when we're cutting it. So the sleeve is done. So the next thing for us now is to go to the organza ruffles. Right now I've sewn the organza, can you see, and I've given it a good press. So I brought it all the way out from here. So this part is going to be closed up, or you can just leave it. So the next thing now is to run a stitch in the middle. Just run a long stitch using the longest stitch, your gathering stitch on your sewing machine, straight down in the middle, all down. So this is what you are going to have. So from there now, you start gathering it up. Can you see? So you just start gathering it up until I have the size of the shoulder sleeve. So that's what I'm going to do. So I've done this to this side. So for this one, I'm going to run the longest stitch, then gather it up. This has been gathered. You can see what I have now. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to gather it up to the measurement I have here. I just want 3 of this on this sleeve, on this of the shoulder sleeve. So I already marked this. So that would be where I will sew the first one, second one, and the third one. So on this measurement here, I have 5 inches, while on the lower part I have 5.5. So that means I'm going to gather this up to 10 inches. So that's what I have here. So what I'm going to do now is to open this up. You can actually do this before you attach the sleeve, or whichever way you want to do it. So on this point whereby we gather it up, that is the part we'll be sewing onto this marked line. Hope you can get that. So I'm just going to place it. I'm going to show you how we sew that on the sewing machine. So on the first one, can you see that? So you place it on this line and you see how beautiful it looks. So the second one is going to be here, and the third one, so it's going to be full. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to sew it all down to the other end of the sleeve. So let's go to the sewing machine. Right now we want to start sewing it. So this, as I've said, the gathered line will be on this line I drew, first, second, third. So we are starting with the first one now. So the middle parts will be placed on it. Can you see that? So we are starting from there. So if it will be easier for you to do it on the sleeve before attaching the sleeve at all, that depends on your preference. See the way it's been sewn, so on that gathered part. So we are at the end of the gathered fabric now. So can you see how beautiful that looks? So that is it on the first layer. So now we are going to sew the second layer, then the third layer, just as we've done for this. Right now you can see how beautiful that looks. I really love it. You can see that. So you could make it more, but it's going to be too much. So this 3 is just perfect, and you can see how that looks. Can you see that? So what I would advise you as an intermediate student to just attach it to the sleeve before you attach the sleeve to the main dress. It's advisable to make it easier for you. So now what I'm going to do now is to just give it a good press. You can see on the inside everything is just beautiful. So here I'm going to use the bias strip to just cover up this seam allowance, or you can use your overlocking machine to just set it right. So it depends on your preference. So you can see everything just looks so wonderful. Can you see that? So I'm just going to give it a good press and put it on the mannequin for you to see. The outfit is ready, and you can see how beautiful and wonderful it looks. That is it. If your measurements are right and you follow all the tutorials. So now looking at it, can you see the ruffled organza sleeve? It's so nice. My puffy sleeve is so nice. And then at the back, there's no puffiness at all. It's looking all glam up. So just make sure you make yours. And you can see I have a sleeve on. I just have to do that just to cover the exposed part of my body. So just imagine me without that. So beautiful and nice, because I decided to put it on instead of putting it on the mannequin. So please make sure you make yours. I really want to see creative ideas in the group. Send in your works. I remain your girl, Bilikis. Bye.